Hello aspirants, taking a look at editorials and current affairs for 20th October 2016. The editorials first. The first editorial in the Hindu newspaper today, a closure of the Indian mind. This is regarding the protests and ban being imposed extra legally on Pakistani artists and film stars in India. So present case is about the movie Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, which will be releasing late in October, and the producer Karan Johar is leaving no stone unturned to ensure that his movie is not protested against, because Fawad Khan, a Pakistani actor, is playing a small role in it. And MNS, Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, a political organization split from Shiv Sena, is protesting vehemently against it and demanding a complete boycott. Many theatre associations have also joined together and they have decided that they would not screen the movie. So that as a response to this, now Karan Johar has come out with a video claiming that he would not work with the talent from the neighborhood country in the future, but please, people should not boycott his movie. Consider the efforts put in by 300 more Indians who have worked on the movie as well. So that is his last pitch effort. Now the editorial also compares with Rorschach test, that how do you interpret Johar's video. So Rorschach test is this ink blot test in which an ink blot image as something is shown of ink blots, and the person should perceive what is he watching. What does he see in those ink blots? So based on that description, you understand the psychological framework of the person. It is also used to detect or to find out criminal bent of mind. So that is how you understand this Johar's appeal to, because it is seen presently too that people are kneeling under the pressure from such organizations which put pressure and demand such things. The liberals here are pressed down. The government does not oppose this. The government says that it has not denied any visa to any Pakistani professional. There's no rule regulation. So this is an extra legal activity and people are boycotting. So government says that it's Indian nationalism being hurt, and if people want to boycott it and anything Pakistan, so government cannot do anything about it. So indirectly they are allowing this to happen. Now the problem with this is the frame of mind of the people. The closure of Indian mind is what is targeted. That how do you respond to such things? What role do Pakistani artists, let's say the art and culture, see no boundaries? So how do you respond to that? What is the mistake which these artists have committed that we should boycott them? We should oppose them. So that again, this is not a single out case. We have seen even cricket matches being cancelled from Mumbai. So those incidences are also there. Another movie which was cancelled from screening at the MAMI, Mumbai International Film Festival, recently, was also one case. So it is a movie based on Faiz Ahmad Faiz poetry. It's his screenplay. So that is a movie which is having so many Indians also contributing in that. It is a historical screenplay during the times of colonial rule, pre-independence, when West Pakistan, East Pakistan, Indian producers, composers were part of it. So how can you even boycott such a movie as well? So all this is again extra legal. There is no legal provision under which these things are done. So the editorial also concludes saying that, do we use India's incredible soft power to win over Pakistanis and others to the ideals of democracy, liberalism, secularism, syncretism for the greater good of the neighborhood? Or do we reduce all people to people contact to unrelenting enmity? So, how do you respond to this? There should be justice in what actions are taken. It cannot be mobocracy, as another article will also discuss. Mob mentality, which is generally riots, are also mob mentalities, which are generally violent. They are threatening, and by use of force, violence, going against Gandhian principles of non-violence on which our whole country is based. They try to bend down people. So such activities, if are supported even indirectly by the government, is not called for. Another term which the editorial talks of, that ease with which a boycott of people from a particular country is enforced, so that everyone is intimidated into falling in line. That if you are not supporting this boycott, means you are anti-national. So such claims been made. This is something like a Tebbit-like test. This Tebbit-like test was also a test by Lord Tebbit of Britain, who during the colonial times, it was during those times that when international cricket matches are played, who does the colonial people living in these colonies support? If they are supporting England in these cricket matches, means they are loyal to the colonial power. If they are supporting their own national countries, that means that they are disloyal. So such kind of tests, which was a very controversial test, used to see where your loyalty lies. So it's just a game. So even such tests people being put to, that if you support this, then you are national. If you don't, then you are anti-national. Such things are uncalled for. There needs to be sensibility prevailing. You can't bring whole enmity and spoil the relations between people, amongst people. Everything is normal. We are not on war with Pakistan. Trade is taking place normally. Why are you bringing out your violent side against Pakistani nationals? So that is the whole point. The next editorial is a decisive battle for Mosul. So Mosul, the second largest city in Iraq, which is being captured back from the IS now by efforts by a coalition comprising of Iraqi forces plus Shia militant groups, the Kurdish groups, plus also the Turkish fighters and US supporting through airstrikes. So this strike on Mosul is going on presently. They are surrounding the city from north and east. They are trying to enter into the city and have road battles, on ground battles, and eventually finish off. Around 5,000 estimated IS fighters who are present here. 1,000,000 residents are also present in Mosul. They are majorly Sunni Arabs, and there is a Sunni Shia conflict in Iraq, because of which, being the reason to, the former Prime Minister of Iraq, Nouri al-Maliki, was against these Sunni Arabs, because of which the IS, which is also Sunni terrorist organization, was allowed to have a groundhold in this region in Mosul too, because they supported, because they were facing atrocities from the government also, the Shia militia. So this is also a sectarian strife, is also a major factor here, which has to be taken into consideration, and atrocities not be committed, the sectarian strife being resolved, and together people are also presently ready to work together and fight against IS. So let's see, the ground battles are still going on. The IS is known to have even put oil wells on fire, and they're committing suicides, attacking the strike forces also. But eventually we're hopeful that the coalition will win the battle against IS and remove them from Mosul. Also, the refugees will have to be taken care of. Around 1 million refugees would be the burden on UNHRC too, which is asking for funding to ensure that these refugees are well taken care of. Refugee camps are also being set up. So this is the third strike, major strike against IS. Tikrit, another region, Hadal city, has also been captured in April 2015. Fallujah as recent as in June 2016. So this fight against IS, the leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, he had set up his caliphate and announced it from Mosul only in 2014. That was June 2014. So this also set apart IS from other terrorist organizations, because it was claiming territorial control over regions also, and it was expanding. So now it is, because much less powerful than in 2014, and the final blow being given to IS right now. This is regarding the yellow regions, show regions where IS is having its stronghold. The Kurdish regions are these green regions which you see here, greenish ones. Mosul is here, you can see, and remaining regions are under government control. Some are even still contested. So this is the status of Iraq war, which America undertook. It left Iraq now, and still the strife continues. The country is still suffering. So that is the case. Next, this also shows, these green regions show where is Kurds are in power. The grey regions show the insurgent groups, Mosul also presently lying in that region, and these pink regions are where government is having its control. This is the political and physical map of Iraq. You can see Zagros mountains near Mosul. the Tigris River which flows through Iraq, Euphrates River which flows through Iraq, the capital Baghdad. You can have a look. Baghdad is on Tigris River. So this is also a geography question which can be asked. So that is about this editorial. Next, we look at the question bank for 20th October 2016. Now, these are based on the lead articles and perspective page articles. The lead article today talks about non-alignment and selective alignment, relations with various countries in BRICS and BIMSTEC on the sidelines of BRICS summit, especially Russia, and how to tackle with Russia-US strife also. So all this we have already discussed in news. The article does not give any more content or points. So there is no need to go ahead with the same thing again and again. So then the next articles on the perspective pages, one article is on India-Britain trade relations and migrations also, because Britain is now having a more stern immigrant policy. Britain has left EU. So after Brexit, now how would India-Britain relations go ahead? Trade relations, how would migrants from India be treated in Britain? Those are the questions posed. And British Prime Minister Theresa May will be on a visit to India soon. So this is based on that. So after the visit and during the visit too, we'll get many more points and information. So then we can actually discuss and have a question on this aspect. So presently again, there is nothing much which needs to be done in this. The other two articles are what we have picked up. One is again a succession to what question we posed yesterday too. The army in India accountable to the people through the government in power. How significant is the morale of any army for a nation? Discuss. So yesterday we discussed this about the garrison state and about how India questioning the army, people in India questioning the army is not liked by the government, and they say that you cannot ask army to answer the people, but then eventually it is the government who is taking action. Its army is just a unit of the government. We are having an army under the government, so it's not a parallel agency that it can do anything and it will not be answerable to the people. Government has to be on behalf of the army answerable to the people. So those are the aspects. So but then the question is basically about morale of the army. So the morale of the army cannot be upheld, because that's the reason being given by the government, that questioning them will reduce their morale or bring their morale down. So such things cannot be brought forth to increase the morale of the army. There are many other things which need to be done for the armed forces. So those need to be highlighted. So that again, today's article talks about disabled soldiers. That is how disabled soldiers have to fight cases in the judiciary to get compensations, which are countered by Ministry of Defence. So that is highlighted, plus even the 7th Central Pay Commission, the modification which it made to the pension payment being done to disabled defense personnel, means even 100% disabled defense personnel, rather than paying them as a percentage of pay, which still continues for civilians. The change made for armed forces was that a slab system will be introduced. Means for a band of pay, you will get a fixed pension rate, pension amount. So this will result in a huge saving for the exchequer, but then the defense personnel would suffer. So such things are highlighted. So this is about the article here basically. Even they talk of diseases, civilian diseases also, generally diseases like heart attacks, strokes, which civilian population also suffers. That is more aggravated in defense personnel. So when they demand compensation for that, government disagrees. So that is also highlighted. So these aspects need to be worked for too. Then the next question which we have framed, AFSPA, this we saw yesterday. Again in which armed forces are given immunity, but that is not the way to boost their morale. The second question is, discuss the issue of extra-legal imposition of restrictions on movement and working of foreign nationals in India seen in recent times. Extra-legal impositions of restrictions. Can it be upheld to assert nationalism? What is your opinion on the matter? So I leave this open-ended. The article also speaks of things which we have discussed in the editorial. So you can read those aspects up and answer this question. This is more of your personal opinion. So how do you go ahead with such bans and restrictions? Thank you. That is it for today.